Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Robb Johnson Sports Show. I'm Robb Johnson. You know who that is. That's Mr. Larry Patterson. Hey, man, crazy day in the NFL, crazy Major League Baseball. You can find it in everything you need. And shout out to my man, Dalton, Andy Dalton. Shout out to my guy, Dalton, man, because he has a phrase that he wanted me to say tonight, and I'm going to say it. The Mantis Olsen, who has Matt Olson, the Mantis Olsen, who has an RBI tonight. But besides all that, let's get to the show. Let's get to the Robb Johnson Sports Show, episode 77. Larry, you ready to show the people?
Let's go.
Let's go, man. Whatever you're into when it comes to sports, you can find it right here. Now, play my intro. Now it's time for the Robb Johnson Sports Show, presented by Robb Johnson Media and the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going tonight, brother?
What's up, man? Another crazy week in football. But we're ready to break all of this down, and let's go.
Crazy isn't the word. And like I said, my guy Ryan Dalton met him at the game, at the Braves game, Braves Nationals, where Max Fried just completely destroyed the Braves' chances of winning that game. But they have won the last two games against the Dodgers, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Talk about the Braves. The Mets lost to the Phillies. The Phillies are out here doing favors for the Braves. Talk about the Braves and what you're seeing from them, and can they get to the postseason?
Yes, the 2 wins over the Dodgers. I mean, that's big. It's monumental for what you want on your season. Now, when you get to the wild card, they only right now they holding the wild card for about a half a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Atlanta. Big statement wins. With the postseason just not far from here. And they could be one of those teams that go into the postseason red hot, and that's what you want out of your baseball team going into the postseason. You want your team red hot. So
yeah. I mean, they got the Dodgers one more time tomorrow night. Right now, the game is actually, I believe, it is in the top of the 7th. Braves lead 2-1. Actually, they have the Dodgers tomorrow night. Then they have 3 against the Reds on the road, 3 against the Marlins on the road. Then they have the Mets for 3 games. Then they have the Royals for 3 games at home. That Mets series is going to be very important from not only a standpoint of who's going to win, but who's going to get the mental edge. Coming to that series, I believe the Braves have got to have at least a 1.5 to 2 game lead, because the Mets have been hot. The Mets have kind of slipped off a little bit with the losses to the Philadelphia Phillies. I mean, if you're the Phillies, Larry, what is your mindset knowing that you're helping your arch rival? I mean, they're both your arch rival, but really you and the Braves, the Phillies and the Braves have been neck and neck for the last almost decade for this division, for supremacy. If you're the Phillies, how do you compartmentalize that? Because there has to be a psychology to it.
Well, I mean, they're sitting comfortable in the pennant right now.
Yeah.
8.5 over the Braves and 9 games over the Mets, so they're sitting pretty comfortable right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I would see that for the rest of the foreseeable future, as far as the regular season going on. Now, when the postseason gets here and these 2 teams are still in there, you don't know who you're facing in one of these rounds. That could be very critical because these 2 teams know you.
Exactly. Going to some other teams as far as divisions, they're going to get to the football. Yankees are now 3 games up on the Baltimore Orioles, which is huge. They are 7, and they've won 7 out of the last 10. The New York Yankees have. Aaron Judge has sewn up the MVP, in my opinion. What he did the other night, as far as that that grand slam. People know I've been a little bit critical of him in the past, but at the same time, you understand that I'm gonna give somebody credit when credit is due. Aaron Judge is the MVP of the AL, no questions asked. There's no debate about that. Cleveland Guardians, they were sweating a little bit. Now they're 4 games up on the Royals. Um, let's see here. The Astros are sweating a little bit as well, but they're now 4.5 games up on the Seattle Mariners. Of course, the Phillies are 8.5 up on the Braves. The Brewers are 10.5 up on the Cubs, and the Dodgers are only have a 3-game lead on the San Diego Padres, who me and you both believe are dangerous when it comes to the MLB playoffs. As we said, the Mets are half a game out. The Cubs are 5.5 back. We don't think they're going to reach. We don't think they're going to get back into this thing at all. The Baltimore Orioles, the Kansas City Royals, and Twins lead the wild card. The Tigers are 2.5 back. The Mariners are 2.5 back. It would behoove the Minnesota Twins to start winning baseball games and start winning them fast. They are in the last 10 games they've won 4 out of 10. So basically, out of the last 10 games, they've only won 4 games. The Detroit Tigers are one of those teams that can sneak into the playoffs and scare somebody. So right now, do you think the Minnesota Twins can hold on to this lead?
Very slim. Very slim, especially when you're talking about guys like Seattle. I mean, not Seattle. Seattle and Detroit both at 2.5. Boston, if Boston can get going, you mentioned Boston before. You mentioned Boston numerous times on the show about on, especially when it comes to postseason relations. And if Boston is just sitting at 4.5 back, there's still a little time left in the season where you can go from 4.5 and creep up. So do I think Minnesota's going to hold that spot? I tell you the truth, bro. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
It's the Central again that you do not trust. We say this every year. It's the Central we do not trust.
And how many times have we sat here and said the Central that we don't trust?
It's a problem. It's a problem every single year. But overall, like I said, man, we'll get back to the baseball. We got to get to the football. And the game I want to start out with was a game that had a lot of field goals, didn't have a lot of scoring. The Commanders against the Giants. The reason I want to get to this game is because we had a coming out party from elite neighbors. 10 catches, 127 yards, a touchdown. But it's the 11th catch he didn't get that lost the game for the Giants. The defense could not get a stop as Jaden Daniels gets his first win of his NFL career, takes his team all the way down the field, gets a field goal, 23 of 29, 226 yards. Let me say something as well. Terry McLaurin has gotten old very fast. The Commanders need to think about possibly getting another big time receiver possibly next year or two. You can just tell he's lost a step. His body is taking a beating. Not saying he's done. Not saying that he can't still play, but it's just kind of troubling to see that he just doesn't have that burst. And McLaurin never had that burst to begin with. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm really impressed by what Jaden Daniels did today. And let's be honest about this as well. You usually can blame Daniel Jones. You can't blame Daniel Jones today. Daniel Jones did his job. And your guy, the guy we talked about in the preseason, this is another reason, ladies and gentlemen, the preseason is so important. Our guy, Eric Gray, out of Oklahoma, who we talked about in the preseason, 5 kick returns, 128 yards. Yep. And then your guys, well, Tyrone, we talked about Tyrone Tracy a little bit in the offseason. He only had 1 carry for 2 yards, but hey, Devin Singletary, 16 carries, 95 yards. He had a fumble late. We understand that, but he had a big impact. And then you look at Brian Robinson, a year after getting shot, 17 carries, 133. So this game was this was an old school football game.
Yeah, it was.
What are your quick thoughts on this game, sir?
Yeah, coming into the game, me and you talked, and it was like this is probably going to be one of those games where it's like, who the hell wants the game? Who wants to win this game?
Exactly.
And I like how you went to Terry McLaurin, 8 targets, 6 catches, and 22 yards. Like, that is not what we accustomed to Terry McLaurin. But to your point, That's from years and years of putting this team on your back.
Yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and eventually the human body catches up. So, I mean, it's still early in the season. I hope that, Terry can have a better week next week and whoever they play and for the rest of the season. But yeah, Jaden Daniels also sacked 5 times today. Um, yeah.
Yeah. But before we go any further, what is the media's obsession with Stephon Diggs? He gets fired up on the sideline. He wants to win. What's the problem? As we're giving you guys some insight right now, the Texans lead the Bears 10-3. It's like he just wants to win. What's wrong with that? And as he just made a catch to get a first down. I mean, what is up? What is up with that? I mean, when guys don't show passion, then we get mad at them. They show too much passion. I mean, what's up with that, Larry?
Like that, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? Damn if you do, damn if you don't. But one thing I will say that I will not be damned about is if you don't check out Larry Patterson and Game Times Sports Network 365 Sports. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson bringing the heat to you every single time. Yep. Now, speaking of heat, as we segue, as we give a little tease there, the New Orleans Saints brought the heat today against the Dallas Cowboys, 44-19. Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Derek Carr looks like he is revitalizing his career, 11 of 16, 243, 2 touchdowns. They dominated the Dallas Cowboys from start to finish. The Cowboys had no answers. I believe that the Cowboys have won, 2 or 3 straight against New Orleans, and every time they played these last couple of times, it had got personal. So right now, you look at the NFC East, and the Cowboys are 1-1, the Commanders are 1-1, the Giants are 0-2, and the Eagles will probably be 2-0 after tomorrow night after what we saw today. Your assessment?
Saw today. You don't know if Atlanta's going to be showing up tomorrow, so let's just pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I after who knows, man? After today, the Falcons could win by 30 or lose by 30. Who knows? I mean, and we'll get to that in a second because we'll get to that after we get to this game because there was definitely a surprising result today that made absolutely no sense. But you look at the Cowboys, it's just one game. Of course, social media lost its mind today. But we're going to give the love to the Saints tonight. What did you see from the Saints, especially their defense? And they got hot at the end of last year. What did you see from the Saints today that impressed you?
So, see this, Derek Carr. You look at his numbers, 11 of 16, 243, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick. But for the first 2 weeks, he has been efficient.
Mm-hmm.
He's been good. He's been pretty damn good, better than his debut with New Orleans last year. Alvin Kamara 21-15 and 3 touchdowns. He also had a passing touchdown with 2 for 65. We know if you know Alvin Kamara, you know he is a threat in the air and on the ground. Also the Rashid Shaheed, who's a guaranteed touchdown score, 4 for 96. Chris Olave 4 for 81. The Saints are playing pretty damn good ball through the first 2 weeks. I know people want to sit here and talk. Well, what are the Panthers? You can't help who's on your schedule. So I wish we stopped. I wish people would stop that.
And they're still NFL. They're still an NFL team too.
It's still an NFL team, and guess what? They beat one of the best teams in the NFL today. But just like you said, they won't get a lot of the credit because a lot of the credit will be going to the team who lost. So,
yeah, and I don't have the number. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now. I think we may have talked about this on shows in the past, but there's just something about when Chase Young goes against the Cowboys, they don't do well. When he was in Washington, this is where I was against him leaving Washington for Commanders fans. If you go back and really look at the games when Chase Young played against the Cowboys, I believe it was the first game. Remember a couple years back when they started the rookie out of North Carolina, and it was Chase Young had just came back at the late part of the season, and they beat Dallas at 26-3. Then it was the COVID year when they beat Dallas twice. They beat them on Thanksgiving. They beat them in Washington. When Chase Young plays against the Cowboys, he's never lost to them. I don't know what it is, but something about when Chase Young goes against the Cowboys, it's never close. So I hope Commanders fans really pay attention to that. Chase Young is the Cowboy killer, and that's real. It. I mean, I think the Cowboys only scored over 10 points once, maybe against Chase Young. So, yeah, the Cowboys have a lot to fix, but like we said, man, it's still an early season. They got to get more people involved other than CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Tolbert, as I talked about him before the season, I will give him credit. He has 6 catches for 82 yards. He can be that third wheel for the Cowboys. But Brandon, if you're Brandon Cooks, 2 catches for 19 yards on only 2 targets, that can't happen. Dak has to improve that big time. Now, any other last thoughts on that game?
No, sir.
So we talked about the shocker of the day, which it really shouldn't be a shocker to us because we know how good this defense can be. Talking about the Ravens and the Raiders. The Raiders go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. Gardner Minshew, whatever you want to say about him, whatever you want to characterize him as, 30 of 38, 276, a touchdown, an interception. Um, Devontae Adams, 9 catches, 110, a touchdown. Brock Bowers, who I was just gushing over before the draft and while he was in college, 9 catches, 98 yards.
Brock
What
Bowers
happened?
coming. Hey,
Yeah, Brock Bowers is legit. Hey, Lamar Jackson, 247, a touchdown, interception. He only ran the ball 5 times today. Derrick Henry had 18 carries, 84 yards. Hey, man, what happened to Baltimore today?
mm, uh, was it bad Baltimore or was it good Ravens? I mean, good Raiders.
I think that we got to start taking the Chargers seriously. I think that
Yeah,
I think that Jim, I think that Mr. Harbaugh done it again, and we don't want to believe it, but it's real. Like we'll talk about the Chargers in a second. The Chargers are real, and they got a game in Pittsburgh next week at 1 o'clock.
big.
And if you remember, back in the old days, that was an AFC Championship showdown. I believe it was the Chargers against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It wasn't the Colts, or was it the Colts? No, no, no. I believe it was the Chargers who beat Pittsburgh to go on to the Super Bowl. So that's like one of those old time rivalries, old time, old school. Dan Fouts against the Steelers, blah blah blah. But getting back to this game before we get to that game, I just think the Raiders are playing with confidence because of their coach. Max Crosby, to me, is still one of the more underrated defenders in the National Football League.
Yeah,
For them to come back the way they did was just impressive, man. Just very impressive.
2 sacks on the day. He had 4 tackles for a loss. I just want to address that you can tell that the strength of the team will be defense and will be a mixture of their pass game. Now, I don't know if their pass game will work consistently because, like, look if you look at last week, and when they played the Chargers, and it didn't work so well. But this week Gardner Minshew, as you said, he was 30 of 38, 276. He had a touchdown, and then you had Devontae Adams going big. You had Brock Bowers in his coming out party. So you have to say defense and a little bit of the passing game. You look at the run game, Zamir White, 9 carries, 24 yards. You can't win games like that down in the trenches when it comes later on into the season, but we'll see. We'll see if it develops. But you know what? The Raiders they got my respect for the first two weeks, especially after beating this Baltimore team. Can't hear you.
Shoot, that's my bad. Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. I had my mute button on. Sorry guys, I had my mute button on. Me and Larry were talking. I put my mute button on for a second. Um, let them know I had my mute button on because I was trying to make sure that um, I was making sure that you all can hear me as I was having something to drink, but I was telling him he can come back on because I was saying my mute button was on. But getting back to sorry about the technical difficulties, folks, but getting back to what we were talking about. Sorry about that, bro. I had my mute button on, man. I was drinking something. I didn't want to be unprofessional. My bad, man. Sorry about that.
Yeah, all right.
My bad. I didn't want to be unprofessional. But I just like you look at Georgia right now. You look at they're missing a guy like Brock Bowers. How important he is. Not only that, but his blocking. Gardner Minshew is doing the job. He's doing the best he can. So if the Raiders somehow do get that quote unquote real quarterback or that QB1, they're gonna be dangerous in the future, man. I really like what they're doing in Vegas, and they have a toughness about them as well that I really like.
No doubt, no doubt. And you know what that stems from, that Antonio Pierce,
Yeah.
ship over there.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say something here, and I know this is gonna probably rub people the wrong way. But there's a 25-year-old man who's been dealing with Achilles injuries and other injuries the last couple of years. So far, if you ask me, he has a combined, if I didn't do the math in my head, was this 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a long touchdown last week of 61 and 43. To me, right now, today, J.K. Dobbins is the MVP of the National Football League. And it ain't, I'm sorry, folks. I know folks out there may not like that. Like, oh, it's a running back. No. J.K. Dobbins, who was in Baltimore, Baltimore could have brought him back, but they wanted Derrick Henry. They didn't want the 25-year-old. They want the 30-year-old Derrick Henry. J.K. Dobbins, 266 yards on the ground in 2 games. He is playing hardball football. And just
and
imagine that. And just think about that. The Ohio State running back doing the work for the Michigan coach. Life's funny, isn't it?
and I shared something last week. I'm gonna go to J.K. Dobbins in a minute, but I shared something last week about Joe Alt, the rookie offensive tackle that they drafted out of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 5th overall pick or something like that. But
Yeah.
Harbaugh adding those people like that, he had, what was it, 19 passing snaps,
Mm-hmm.
no sacks allowed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
against not just anybody. We're talking about one of the best pass rushers in the league, and Max Crosby,
Yeah.
and, and Divine Diablo, who's a pretty young, productive, pass rusher himself. So, I feel like he's building something over there. Now with J.K. Dobbins, as you said, the Ravens didn't want him, but Harbaugh knew what to do with him. And even
Mm-hmm.
though J.K. Dobbins is not what he once was, if you saw last week that long run, and you seen the energy that he had when he was busting down the sideline, and then he kind of slowed up
Mm-hmm.
those injuries, it's like he's not back to what he was, but he's still very effective. And
Exactly.
with Harbaugh,
Exactly.
and especially you add Gus Edwards, who's a red zone, a goal line threat. Justin Herbert, he doesn't have to put the team on his back anymore with throwing,
Nope.
throwing the ball a whole lot. And then
Nope.
Justin Herbert was 14-20 today.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And they're not taking crazy chances anymore. Um, Joe Alt has to be right now your favorite for offensive rookie of the year. Why not? And again, we'll see. We'll see what he has next week when they go against Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, that'll be crucial
Big man.
because you're going up against greatness, a great defenders, a J.J. Watt probably, where he'll be coming off the edge against you, and we'll see what he's got there. But right now, the Chargers are playing good football. You can only play who's on your schedule, and again, this is the NFL, so basically, you're playing against you're playing against other teams who are just as good as you. They may not be as talented, but they're just as good as you. So yeah, the Chargers doing good things. Another strange game, Colts and Packers. We won't spend much time on this, but what the hell happened to the Colts today?
Man, and I took Anthony Richardson in my fantasy team today, and just a complete disappointment. But I was surprised by the Packers today.
That
Trying to
defense, that defense, and then Malik Willis, 12 or 14, 122. I mean, what the heck happens to people when they go to Green Bay and start playing quarterback?
I don't know what it is. It's like when you go somewhere else, when you go in other places, it's like you forget how to play football. But once you get to Title Town, it's like you pick it up. I
But
would.
there is one element of the Packers that I think that a lot of people they didn't forget about in the offseason, but they're like, when you think about it, you're like, dang, man, they got Josh Jacobs, 32 carries for 151 today.
Mm,
What happens? What happens when Jordan Love gets back?
mm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like last week against Philly, and that's the thing. This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint for the Packers, and the Packers have to learn about this, right? Look at this. 32 carries, 151 today. He had 16 last week against Philly for 84 yards. He's not getting in the end zone, but he's getting the tough yards. The Packers played a heck of a game. Anthony Richardson, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. I just think right now that he's rushing it. The team is just trying to get their focus in. So, you know,
Josh Jacobs becoming that back that he once was, right?
yep. Go Braves. Go. You see it right there, don't you? Go Braves. The Mantis Olsen. The Mantis Olsen. The Braves are tied right now with the Dodgers, by the way, 2-2 in, I believe it's the 8th inning. So, as we go back to football, that was a strange game.
Yeah.
That was a strange game. The 49ers lost, which it's kind of funny that I didn't really see that talked about too much today, but they lost to the Vikings, and they lost to the Vikings.
I
Um,
if I'm not mistaken, I think I picked this one in the Legacy Maker pool.
yeah,
Pick
I
those
think
guys.
you did. Yeah. I mean, hey, man, look, at the end of the day, Brock Purdy had 319, a touchdown, a pick, but Sam Darnold had 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Um, Todd Chandler had 10 carries for 82 yards. Aaron Jones had 32 yards on the ground. Um, Jefferson went out with an injury, but he had 4 catches for 133. And they don't even have their second best receiver who's out with an injury. So it's like, can Minnesota sustain this, or is Sam Darnold going to turn back to the ghost of Sam Darnold sooner or later?
That's going to be a week to week concern, brother. You just never know what you're going to get. But
You never know. You never know.
I was not expecting that today. Good, like you said, he went out for injury, but good performance by the stat pattern, as Rob Johnson would like to call Mr. Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, he at times he does, but in games like this, he made a good impact, so that was a great thing. Speaking of impact, the demise of Deshaun Watson was greatly exaggerated by a lot of people. He goes in, he wins the game. Trevor Lawrence though had 16 yards in this game for a long time. It was getting really scary at one time. He had below 50 yards for a while. It was wild. Oh my God. Caleb Williams almost escaped that. Whew. Caleb Williams almost put somebody on a highlight reel, but they got him to the ground. But Deshaun Watson today, he rushes for a touchdown. No touchdown passes, but no interceptions. 22 of 34, 186. Trevor Lawrence, 14 of 30, 220. Those numbers are very, very deceiving. They dominated the Jacksonville Jaguars today. Um, Jerome Ford has 7 carries, 64 yards. Jerry Jeudy, your Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches, 73 yards. But let me also say there's an APB out for Amari Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
There is a APB out. Deshaun threw the ball 8 times. He only caught 3 of those balls.
Mm.
3. There's an APB out for this man. So they played tough defense today. They were able to get it done. Myles Garrett had a sack. Travis Etienne, 13 carries, 52 yards, a touchdown. If he's got 52 yards on 13 carries and he had a long of 20, don't you think he would have got the ball a little more than that? Don't don't you have to get the ball into Travis Etienne? And here's the worst part about this. Brian Thomas, rookie out of LSU, four targets, 2 catches, 94 yards. Give him the ball. What are we doing? What are we doing in Jacksonville?
I feel like if he had got the ball a little bit more, something else would have happened. You know.
Yeah, Travis 18, only 4 targets through the air, 3 catches. I mean, what are we doing in Jacksonville? Is Peterson trying to get fired? I mean, what are we doing?
Sitting at 0-2 right now. I mean, you're 0-2 with like Ravens, as well. So pretty shocking. But you know what? You know, and I know week 2 is just the start of another week, man.
But bro, but that's the problem with Jacksonville, man. That's the issue, though. That's the issue. You go to Buffalo in week 3. Then you go to Houston. You got to play the Colts at home. The Colts by then will probably start playing better because the Colts play better in division. All right. Then you go to Chicago. Chicago's a tough place to play. Then you face the Patriots, who we've seen is not a tough out. You go against Green Bay October 27th. Jordan Love will probably be back by then. You got to go to the Eagles. You got the Vikings at the Lions who are going to be pissed off. They got a tough schedule, man. I mean, it's not inconceivable to say the Jaguars might win 4 or 5 games. Probably, everybody talks about Deshaun's contract and this dude's contract. When are you going to start talking about Trevor Lawrence's contract? I got to give LaShawn McCoy credit about that. Because when Trevor Lawrence came out and said he was going to be a special player, but he really hasn't shown it that much, man. He really hasn't. Besides the time that the Chargers decided to give him the playoff game.
Yeah, and a couple flashes in between here and there, but like you said, mostly it's not really what's been advertised or what was advertised. So,
Yeah.
who do they have next week? You said
they got the Bills and Texans back to back. They'll be 0-4 by the time week 5 gets here.
Ooh, tough matchups, right, Rob? Like, man, come on, Trev.
Yeah, and the Texans are looking really, really, really solid tonight, my friend. Next game, we've been wrong. We were kind of wrong about Geno. Looks like Geno's glass slipper is still on. He went into New England today, 327 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. DK Metcalf, my God, 10 catches, 129. And Jigba, he had, what was that? 12 catches, 117. And Tyler Lockett just sitting there getting 2 targets. Oh, yeah, you got to worry about Tyler Lockett in the slot.
You do. You definitely do.
This Seattle team is sneaky, man. The NFC West is sneaky. We'll get into why the NFC West is sneaky here in a little bit, but yeah. But I will say this though: the Patriots, they're playing their asses off. The Patriots are playing their asses off. Ramondre Stevenson is playing really good ball, and you know what's even funnier? The guy that Washington got rid of because he said he had too many fumble issues, Antonio Gibson, 11 carries, 96 yards. He gave up on that man quick, and guess what he's doing? He's producing in New England. Hunter Henry, man, he's, 29 years old still. He's still a young guy. 8 catches, 109.
12 targets.
12 targets, yeah. So I'm impressed by the Patriots, man, definitely. The New York Jets, they better be very lucky the Titans didn't have a better quarterback today. That's all I'm going to say on that. That's all I'm going to say on that. Because Will Levis, 19 28, 192, a touchdown, an interception. Tony Pollard has 62 yards on 17 carries. Even though Tony Pollard has had an impressive couple of weeks where he had 82 and 62 yards, it's like he started out quickly and then he kind of fell down to earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not looking too great for the Tennessee Titans right now. They may be quarterback shopping in next year's draft if this continues because this team is way too talented to be 0-2, in my opinion.
Calvin 4 for 77. Tony Pollard was 5 for 40. Everybody else just yeah.
You know something? This game makes me feel very underwhelmed by the Jets.
Yeah,
You watch a game like this and you're like, you want to see something, I'll give you some hope, and you're like, no, it kind of makes me feel worse about the Jets actually, because as we said, if they had a better quarterback, the Titans win this game.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
And with their two running backs going for over 4 yards a carry, Brees Hall 14 for 62, 4.4 yards per, and then
mm,
Braylon Allen 7 for 33. He also had a touchdown,
yeah.
4.7 per. So, like I said, that's going to be one dynamic duo that a lot of teams are going to be fearful to face right there because of just the size and the speed. But yeah, everything's it's just week 2. It's going to brew.
What did I tell you before the season? What was my one fear about one quarterback when he gets paid? You know what I'm talking about, right? As we go to the Bucks and we go to the Lions, we talked about this in the offseason, and everybody heard us when we talked about it. That one quarterback, I said, I get very worried that he's gonna start getting too fancy with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jared Goff could be back to doing Jared Goff things. And Detroit don't want that. They lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I don't know what the Detroit Lions record is all time at home against Tampa, but I'm pretty sure they have a really big time record. That's when Barry Sanders was running all over Tampa back in the day when they were in the same division. I believe it was with the NFC Central. But then when he went to Tampa, Tampa always beat him up. But yeah. Your thoughts on this game, sir?
A lot less scoring than what I thought would be. uh,
That
Jared
that
Goff,
that that Buccaneers defense is really returned to form, and that could be a scary thing.
exactly. You faced Washington last week, and then you go to Detroit and you grab you a win up there on the road. Where do I want to start? Let's start with Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield 12-19, 185. The numbers didn't look spectacular, but you know what? You don't need that to get a win. The run game wasn't really a factor today. Baker was 5 for 34. He had a touchdown. Bucky Irvin, the rookie out of Oregon, just 7 of 22. Rashad White, 10 of 18. And then Chris Godwin was like the only really threat as far as in the receiving area. Was 7 for 117. He had 8 targets. Mike Evans, 6 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. You know,
Mm.
uh, yeah, man. Yeah. If you go to Detroit, I mean, Golf threw the ball 55 times, 307 yards, 2 interceptions.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
It's crazy because the Lions lead this series all time 33-30. It's one of those rivalries that it's a rivalry. People want to deny it, but it's a rivalry in my eyes because I look at these teams and I see how they play each other in the past, how intense it's been, and it was just as intense today. Um, but I'll say this as well: Detroit has to get their stuff together, man. They just don't seem to me. Even the game against the Rams, they just don't seem like the same Lions team. It's something about that NFC title game that took something out of them.
mm,
They got to recapture. They don't
yeah,
have that same magic. And also, when you become the hunted, when you're no longer the hunter, that's huge.
yep. I agree with there. Uh,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Aiden Hutchinson, 4.5 sacks today.
Who should feel really stupid right now? The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Because they had this day.
How in the world do you not draft that guy? Um, speaking of feeling stupid, the people who said that Kyler Murray couldn't get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. Nice little graphic there, put together by yours truly, Mr. Robb Johnson. Yeah, 41-10. What the hell happened, buddy? Hey, before you go, I remember I put a post up and an individual told me, I think I remember I told you, the individual told me I was crazy because I said the Lions were going to be good, they were decent this year. Through 2 games, the Lions look very dangerous, my friend.
The Lions or the Cardinals?
I'm sorry, the Lions are going to be dangerous later. The Cardinals, 28 points last week in Buffalo, which we see that's no fluke because what they did to Miami, that high-powered offense, then 41 this week against a pretty decent Rams defense. But trust me when I tell you, Sean McVay is somewhere right now making a call to Aaron Donald. If you think he's not, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because that team looks so different from a physicality standpoint with not having Aaron Donald in that front.
I don't think he's coming back.
I don't think he's coming back either, but you know they're making the call. And I'm telling you right now, Aaron Donald could probably get anything he wanted.
Yes.
He can get anything he wants. Anything. Like Jay-Z said, anything for you. Old school for y'all.
Tyler was 7-21, 266 and 3 touchdowns. Marvin, your boy Harrison Jr., 4 for 130 and 2.
Oh my God. Just imagine if the Patriots had only did what I told them to do. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. No, here's worse than that. Do you remember originally what I told the Bears to do? Originally I said, draft Marvin Harrison, put him with DJ Moore, keep Justin Fields, and you would have something so special that nobody would be able to. Oh my God. He put the whole league on notice. I mean, bro, you looked up and Marvin Harrison had scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dominated the Rams. And they haven't beaten the Rams in forever.
And Marvin Harrison after going 1 for 4 last week. 1 catch, 4, and look at him this week.
32.5 average yards per catch. Long of 60. This and my guy, the guy I told everybody about, 2nd round pick in 2022, my guy, Trey McBride.
Right, yeah.
One of the more underrated tight ends in the National Football League.
Absolutely.
And just imagine, they could have had Hollywood Brown back. But here's the funnier thing about the Cardinals. James Conner, imagine if he was still in Pittsburgh. 122 yards. The Rams are in trouble, man. The Rams are in trouble. They're in trouble big time. Because next week, guess who they got? They got San Fran. And you know the 49ers they're gonna come in there pissed, right? They're gonna come into SoFi pissed. And then they got to go to Chicago. Then they got to play Green Bay. Then they play the Raiders. Then the Vikings. Then they got to go to Seattle. Then they play Miami, who by then will probably be formidable. You got to go to New England. You got to play the Eagles. You got to go to New Orleans. The Bills, the 49ers, the Jets, the Cardinals, and then the Seahawks. Just like we were talking about the last team, and how hard their schedule is going to be, we were talking about the Titans. Man, that schedule don't look too nice.
And then what makes matters worse is Cooper Kupp left the game early today.
Of course he did. I mean, it's an annual tradition at this point, right?
Yeah. But, and then Puka Nacua, he's already out. So
yeah. And we talked about this again, everybody, the preseason. That's why it's so important. What did we say? If Matthew Stafford gets hurt, Jimmy Garoppolo or Stetson Bennett, you might as well get ready to start picking at the top 5.
As well.
Because if Matthew Stafford gets hurt, that's it. The season's over. I don't really care how much you think that these guys can come in and make a difference. No. Sean McVay is a difference maker, but he ain't no magician. We saw Stetson Bennett in the preseason. We know what he's about. We know Jimmy Garoppolo has lost a step. So yeah. Um,
You're not gonna show Jimmy no love in that resume he built over there.
man, he ain't building. Man, listen. It's amazing what one misthrow can do for you if that ball connects. Now, do you want to go to your Broncos first? Or do you want to do Kansas City?
Whatever you want to do.
Hey man, listen. You're the man who contributes big time to this show. You tell me. Do you want to go to your Broncos last?
Yeah, let's do that last. Let's touch on the Kansas City game.
Okay, Kansas City won 26-25. Once again, Patrick Mahomes does his thing. He only threw for 151, but he won the game. Okay. Pacheco, he left the stadium on crutches, but he had 90 yards on the ground. Rasheed Rice, who somehow is playing, wasn't suspended some way somehow. I don't know how. 5 catches, 75 yards, a touchdown. They'll get Hollywood Brown back. Oh my gosh. Caleb Williams just missed a throw. Quick update. 13-3. Houston Texans over Chicago Bears. The Bears have 3rd and goal inside the 5. Looked like pass interference on the Texans was not called.
But remember, they don't think Hollywood Brown's coming back this season.
No, he'll be back in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Here's what's scary about this game, right? And I want to get your perspective on this, Larry. The Chiefs feel like they're sleepwalking, bro. Travis Kelce had 1 carry. I had 1 catch for 5 yards. Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 5 yards, and you won the game.
That's crazy.
Can you tell the people? By the way, the Chicago Bears just scored. 32 seconds left. 8 plays, 49 yards, 3 minutes and 10 seconds on the drive. They get the touchdown. Looks like Herbert scored. We got a game in Houston. Just tell the people. And then Xavier Worthy, 2 catches, 17 yards. Kansas City's sleepwalking, man. They're waiting for the playoffs. How scary is this Kansas City team, especially a team who lost their number 1 corner in the offseason?
They're very scary. You know why? Because they can beat you so many different other ways. Other than just the downhill throw, downfield throws. They could potentially be doing the run game with Isaiah Pacheco. I know he left the stadium in crutches, but 4.7 yards per off 90 yards. Like, they can beat you like that. They can defensive. So I mean, there's so many ways this team can beat you. Just so happened that the main way that they beat you just was not that factor today. But I actually thought this was a good game, though, man.
Yeah. So T. Higgins not being there in the last 2 weeks. Jamar Chase, we know he didn't do much in the preseason. Last 2 weeks, 5 targets, 6 targets. 4 catches this week, 6 catches last week. Are they suppressing? I'm not trying to be conspiracy theorists here. Are they suppressing his catches? So they can't pay him? Because I'm just saying, man, Jamar Chase can usually get open, brother. Something's going on here. And if you're Jamar Chase, if this continues, do you ask for a trade?
I think you have to. And as the game was going off, you could see the frustration on his face. You can see that he's not happy. I mean, come on, man. The Bengals
something's going on in Cincinnati that doesn't feel right. It doesn't smell right, right? Something doesn't feel right in Cincinnati.
The Bengals got to stop this. And as Stephen A. alluded to earlier this week on First Take, talking about their owner Mike Brown, his cheap ass.
Yeah, everybody likes to talk about Jerry Jones. Let's start talking about Mr. Brown and what he does, and just how he has run players out of that organization.
Joe Mixon, look at him.
Oh yeah. Joe Mixon is having a huge impact in Houston.
Yes, he is. You didn't want to pay him. Okay, T. Higgins should have been
7th round pick. Gave him up for a 7th round pick. Do you know how ridiculous that is? You know how
You
ridiculous that is?
know how that messes up the ego. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
T. Higgins should have been got paid, and now you're sitting here leaving Jamar Chase out here on the drive. Like, what are you really doing over there? But you paid Joe Burrow though. You Burrow.
Who gets hurt every single year. And I'm a Joe Burrow fan, but I mean, let's be honest. And I said this on a Facebook post a few years back. Joe Mixon is very critical to that team. Very critical. And to not value him was a mistake. It was a huge mistake.
Shout out to Mikey Secchi, 9
Yeah,
targets,
he's playing good ball. Yes, he is.
yards after 2 years, I believe, in run first systems, and now you go into a system that caters to you. Basically, you could definitely see Mike Gesicki having some good numbers this year.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And I definitely think that Cincinnati is a type of team where they will recover from this because they've been 0-2 before. The problem, the problem is that man, the AFC is loaded, brother. The AFC is loaded,
Yeah.
and here's the other problem: Cleveland ain't gonna be bad forever, bro. Cleveland's not gonna be bad forever. Newsflash: Baltimore, even though they're 0-2, Joe Burrow can't beat Lamar Jackson, and Pittsburgh is 2-0, and they haven't even hit their stride yet. We're potentially having a Hall of Fame quarterback who can come in and make a difference, even with the quarterback they have now, and their defense is humming. So yeah. Well, Larry, as we go to our final topic, speaking of heat, Larry Patterson's about to bring the heat. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson bringing the heat to you every single time. All right, Larry. I don't mean to bring this up. I'm just kind of bringing it up. Last year in the first 2 games, Russell Wilson had 177 and 308. 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. In the first game against the Raiders, because of Sean Payton's decision to onside kick the ball, the Broncos lost the game, and it was a crucial mistake. In the second game, if you remember, Russell Wilson threw a Hail Mary, but then the 2-point conversion was screwed up by the call. If we go to the Broncos this year, as I bring the stats up, if we look at one Bo Nix's numbers, and again, I like Bo Nix. Can we agree I like Bo Nix, correct?
Yeah.
I was a fan of his coming out. His first 2 games in the National Football League, 138 yards, 246 yards. That's decent. He didn't have a 300-yard game like Russell did last year. But he's got no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Russell had 5 and 1. And I bring it up for this one reason. And you can, if you want to talk more about the Broncos and tell the world how you feel, you can do that as well. But on this little segment right here, Larry, this is what Sean Payton wanted, right? This is what Sean Payton wanted. Go.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. He wanted somebody that he can draft and groom on his own.
Look like him. Look like him. I'm just joking. Hey, I'm doing the presidential. I'm doing the Kamala Harris. I'm sorry.
Knicks was
Oh God, that's funny.
246. He had a crucial interception where they were down in the red zone, and that's like his second interception of the season because he did that last year where they were in scoring range, and he decides to throw an interception in the end zone.
You remember that Fresh Prince episode where Carlton said, "Wait, there's more." Against Seattle, passer rating 47.5. This week, it was better. 55.2. Now, if we go back to Russell from last year, if we go to quarterback rating, If we go back to the quarter, is that the quarterback rating? Let me see. Make sure. Let me make sure it's the right. Let me make sure it's the right. It's the right number. Yeah. Make sure. Make sure it's the quarterback rating. Yep. The rating in the first game, 108 against the Commanders, 107.3. I would say those numbers are pretty off, Larry. So, but this is what Sean Payton wanted. Russell Wilson was the problem. Now, was Russell Wilson perfect in Denver? No, he was not. 42 touchdowns, 42 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. But so far, and you can't put this all on Bo Nix, but anytime your rookie quarterback is your leading rusher and he's a slinger of the football with 25 yards, Sean Payton got some explaining to do, my man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Javonte Williams, 11 of 17. One and a half.
That can't happen. That can't happen.
Just
And guess what? The defense showed up. Justin Fields, bro, it wasn't like he lit the world on fire. He was 13 of 20 for 117.
Yeah.
They sacked him twice. They held the Steelers' highest rusher had 69 yards on 17 carries. Najee Harris. Their leading receiver had 39 yards. They held George Pickens to 2 catches. The defense is doing their job.
Whoa. George Pickens was killing Pat Surtain today. I will say that. And that's the difference between like like when people read off stats and when you actually watch the game. Like I sat here and watched George Pickens abuse Pat Surtain today, and I'm sitting here saying, they're not the highest paid cornerback in the league.
Hey. So what you're saying is, I was getting to that. He only had 2 catches, but I was going to get to that. So what you're saying is that Justin is not as accurate. Because if somebody else had been the quarterback, he possibly could have got him the ball. Because you know, sometimes hey, Larry, we're just being honest here. Sometimes you're watching like you said, you watch these games, right? And a player will only have 2 or 3 catches. But you're like, damn, he's running right past him. If he had a guy that could see the field better, because you know Russell gonna start floating them balls when he get back on the field, possibly. But what I'm saying, man, is like the Broncos should have won this game, man. The defense did their job, man. It makes me angry because the Broncos, when the Broncos are good, this football is better. I love watching the Broncos at Mile High or wherever the hell they call their stadium now. But you're frustrated, man. I see it on your face.
I am, and it doesn't make it any better next week because we gotta play Tampa Bay. But this game right here, I was so frustrated. Now, you only allowing 13 points. Am I happy off of that? Yeah, but we know that it was points left off of there. Just because of penalties. Both teams were heavily penalized today. I think let me go penalties. Broncos 9 for 124. Pittsburgh 10 for 78. That's a lot.
Damn.
A lot of penalties.
Yeah. Well, damn, the Texans hit a 60-yard field goal in the half. Jesus Christ. Keep me all up to date on this stuff right here, man. But just your final words on this, man. Your final words, Larry, on this game, and just
my final word.
Justin Fields getting these cheap wins.
Yo, man, Justin Fields he looked like an actual NFL fucking quarterback. Excuse me. He actually looked like an actual NFL quarterback today. I was impressed he was making.
It's amazing when you leave Chicago sometimes.
Yeah. So I mean, I also feel like this. If Mike Tomlin does make that switch, he'd be a damn fool.
No, he won't be a fool. I'm gonna tell you why. Because listen, I'm gonna tell you this. There's a change coming to football. It may not happen this year, may not happen in 5 years, but I'm seeing it around high school. They're starting to implement different quarterbacks. It's coming. I don't know when it's gonna happen, Larry. You're gonna start seeing You're going to start seeing interchangeable quarterbacks, and it's going to drive the money value down. And that could be so many factors. We're not even getting set tonight, but you got the dynamic of Russell Wilson. You got the dynamic of Justin Fields. They're in a better quarterback position this year than they were last year.
We agree.
They're in a lot better position.
I think you're reaching with the dynamic word, though.
Huh?
I think you're reaching with the dynamic word.
Oh no! I'm not. I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, if Russell would have played it, they would have scored 27. But anyway, again, my final word to This is just my final goodbye for the Cowboys and Broncos today. Anyway, it's time to tell the world. Time to tell somebody to shut the hell up.
I need you to shut the hell up for the immediate future.
All right, Larry. Tell somebody to shut the hell up for the immediate future.
Really quick. Just shut the hell up to these people about these Cowboys and about.
Thank you.
But it's just week 2, people. Like how many times have we seen these teams in this spot before? How many times have we seen the Cincinnati Bengals in this spot? It's not over, man. There's so much football left to play, and you just be patient. And shut the hell up. Just be patient.
I want to tell myself shut the hell up because I was talking about the Braves winning this game. They were up 2-1. They lost 9-2. Anyway,
wow.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, damn. Let's tell the world how we feel. And by the way, Shohei Ohtani is the MVP. There's no questions about that. I mean, if you object to that, then you know what? Turn in your sports card. Go ahead, Larry. Tell the world how you feel, bro.
Incredible season.
9-2. They were just up 2-1. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Telling the world how I feel. I feel like I'm not expecting a whole lot out of my football team, but I feel a little down. I'm tired of losing.
Hold on. Can I stop you real quick? Before you go on? Doesn't it feel like football is a little bit depressing this year? I don't know why. Like seriously, it's like it's less fun. Everybody's just looking to just pile on and give hot takes. It just doesn't feel as fun. Am I off or something? It's like no, in college, it's still fun and it's cool. And actually, it's become even more fun than I thought it was going to be. The NFL just seems a little.
Yeah. I guess I think you'll have that from now on because everybody knows how it is. So I think when we reach like week 6, week 7, week 8, like that's when it started maybe heating up. But like these first few weeks, it's like that's how it is, especially when your football team is losing. I don't have it. I'm done. That's kind of my spirit's kind of crushed. That's it.
Lottery gods. I need you to make sure my ticket goes through. I ain't got nothing else. Just make sure my lottery tickets go through because I want to be rich. And yeah. Tired of being poor.
Play that Mega Millions.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? The numbers came out the other night, and if I would just taken out of the five I played, $10. If I would just taken all those numbers from everything from all those different sets, I would have won. You know what? So at the end of the day, from Larry Patterson to your guy Robb Johnson, have a royal good night and kiss our American